All right, welcome back to Book to Read, everyone. We are on episode 39, and we are tackling a real giant today.
We are.
We're going deep into War and Peace.
Oh, War and Peace.
By Leo Tolstoy.
This is a book that is as epic as its title, really. Famous for its size, the intricate plot, and gosh, so many characters.
You're not kidding. When I first picked this thing up, I have to admit, I was pretty intimidated, but I have a feeling we're going to uncover some pretty incredible stuff.
Absolutely. And don't worry, you don't need to have, a degree in Russian literature to appreciate it.
No.
We'll unpack the brilliance of Tolstoy's storytelling together.
That's right. You know what? Speaking of navigating a really big book, have you ever tried the Bookspace app?
Oh, I love Bookspace.
It's honestly a game changer.
Yeah.
You can keep track of all the characters, the themes, all those quotes you're going to want to break out at your next cocktail party.
Especially for a book like this.
Yeah.
Connecting with other readers, too. It's like having a book club, but way more convenient.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into the world of War and Peace. Tolstoy kind of throws us right into this pre-Napoleonic Russian high society. And the first scene is this dazzling ball hosted by Anna Pavlovna.
Right into it. And what's so interesting about this opening is how Tolstoy uses it to introduce all those social dynamics of the time. So you've got these glittering gowns, polite conversation, but underneath it all, it's like this web of ambition and rivalry and all these hidden agendas.
Like a high-stakes game of chess,
Right.
And right in the middle of it, we meet Pierre Bezukhov.
Oh, yeah.
And he kind of stumbles into this world.
He's not known for his grace, is he?
No, not really.
No, and his entrance is definitely memorable. So he looks awkward in this elegant setting, but he also comes out and says this pretty controversial opinion about Napoleon.
Yeah, he is a bit of a pot stirrer. To say that you admire Napoleon in a room full of Russian aristocrats?
He's an outsider.
Yeah.
Inside and out. And he's about to inherit this enormous fortune, which makes him a target.
Oh, yeah. They're circling. Speaking of ambitious, can we talk about Prince Vasily Kuragin?
Oh, yes.
The master manipulator, right?
Pulling all the strings.
Spring in ears.
Very interested in Pierre, particularly because of this impending fortune.
Of course.
Tolstoy hints at his manipulative nature. You get the sense he will use any means necessary to get control over Pierre's wealth.
Even pushing him towards a bad marriage.
Perhaps.
Which brings us to Helene, Prince Vasily's daughter. So she's described as this incredible beauty.
Well, Tolstoy is a master at revealing character. And while Helene is beautiful on the surface, there's this kind of coldness underneath it all.
So she's got her own ambitions going on.
Yeah.
And marrying Pierre with all his fortune fits right into that.
Of course.
Yeah, this is going to be good. Poor Pierre. He's stuck in the middle of this, feeling pressured, manipulated.
Does know how to resist.
Not quite sure what to do.
No.
Before we move on, though,
Yeah.
can we talk about the bear prank?
Oh, yes.
Because this sounds insane.
Tolstoy includes this almost unbelievable anecdote about this group of young men, including Anatole Kuragin, Prince Vasily's son, and they decide to tie a policeman to a bear.
They what?
Yeah, and throw them both into a canal.
What? That is insane.
It's crazy.
Sounds like something out of a movie.
But it captures their recklessness perfectly. They have this sense of entitlement.
Consequences?
I don't even think about it.
What consequences?
It's like a glimpse into this kind of underbelly of what seems like this glamorous society.
It is?
It makes you wonder what other crazy incidents he's got in store.
Right. All right, let's shift our focus to Pierre. He's just inherited all this money. And boom, suddenly he's one of the most eligible bachelors.
Which, as we said, comes with its own problems.
Okay.
He's not ready for the change in status. He's still figuring himself out, what he wants from life.
He's got this huge gift, but he doesn't know what to do with it.
Right. And that internal conflict makes Pierre so interesting. He's not just some rich guy. He's a soul searching for meaning.
And that search takes him down some paths, doesn't it? From those bad marriages to exploring philosophy, he's always searching for something more.
Always searching. And his journey reminds us that even if you have all the wealth in the world, true happiness comes from finding your own path.
Living authentically, I think that's something we can all relate to.
Absolutely.
That search for meaning is universal.
It is. That's why War and Peace still resonates with us after all this time.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already, but we're just getting started. Pierre's journey is just one piece of this massive story.
Yeah.
Up next, I want to delve into the world of Prince Andrei Bolkonsky, another character who's looking for glory and purpose, but in a very different way.
Andre's story is a great counterpoint to Pierre. So he's driven by ambition, a desire for military glory. But his experiences in the Napoleonic Wars are going to lead him down a path of disillusionment and self-discovery.
Can't wait to unpack that and see how it connects with Pierre's. Oh, and we can't forget about Natasha Rostova,
Oh, no.
the heart of the novel.
She brings such energy to this story. Her journey of love, loss, growth, it's captivating, heartbreaking.
So much to discuss. Stay with us as we continue our deep dive into War and Peace. And don't forget to check out Bookspace to kind of enhance your experience.
Yeah, and connect with other readers.
Right. See you in part 2.
Before we get into the complex lives of Prince Andrei and Natasha, I think we should take a moment to just appreciate the sheer scale of War and Peace. Tolstoy isn't just telling a story, he's painting this panorama of an entire era.
You're right. It's like he zoomed out to capture this grand sweep of history, but then at the same time, he's zooming in on these intimate little details
Exactly.
of individual lives.
And he does it so well.
Yeah.
We see the glittering ballrooms, and then we're suddenly thrust onto the battlefields of the Napoleonic Wars. It's like he's putting these contrasting worlds next to each other to highlight just how vast human experience can be.
And it's incredible how he brings together these personal stories with these larger historical events. It makes you realize that, individual lives are both shaped by and kind of contribute to the course of history.
Absolutely. And that brings us to one of the major themes of the book, which is Tolstoy's philosophy of history.
Okay.
So he's challenging this traditional idea that history is driven by, these great men, these Napoleons.
He's not buying into the whole hero narrative then.
Not really. Tolstoy's suggesting it's way more complex than that. He argues that it's shaped by countless individual choices and actions, and also by forces that are often sort of unseen, unpredictable.
It's like he's saying that even in the chaos and amidst these huge events,
Yeah,
individual choices still matter.
exactly.
You're not just a pawn.
You're not just a pawn in some grand historical game.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got these grand historical forces.
Right.
We've got these individual choices that matter, and then this whole question of free will.
Yeah.
How does all that play out in the lives of these characters?
Well, let's look at Pierre, right? He's on this constant search for meaning and purpose. He gets this fortune, he gets married, he tries all these different philosophies. He even gets caught up in the war.
Right.
He's trying to find his place.
It's like he's like a philosophical pinball just bouncing around
Exactly.
to these ideas.
Bouncing between different ideas and experiences, trying to make sense of it all. Yeah, and Tolstoy is using Pierre to kind of explore all these different ways that people try to find meaning, right?
Right.
Through religion, philosophy, love, intellectual pursuits, and even, confronting the realities of war.
So it's not really about finding answers.
No.
It's about
It's about the search.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
Right, we're all grappling with these big questions.
absolutely about life.
About life, our purpose,
Yeah.
our place in the world.
And Tolstoy's not afraid to say that, there aren't always those easy answers.
No.
Life is messy.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best we can do is keep searching and keep growing.
Absolutely. Now let's look at Prince Andrei Bolkonsky. He's different from Pierre, right?
Yeah.
He's starting his journey driven by this desire for glory.
Recognition.
Yeah. He sees war as the way to get those things.
Okay, so he's the ambitious one.
Yes.
The one who wants to leave his mark.
He does. But his experiences in the Austrian campaign, particularly the Battle of Austerlitz, really force him to confront the reality.
The brutal reality.
The brutality of it all, yeah. And he starts to question, what is glory?
Right.
What's the point of it all, you know?
It's like an existential crisis almost.
Yeah, and do you remember that scene where he's lying wounded
Oh, yeah.
on the battlefield,
Yeah.
looking up at the skies?
The whole world
It's a turning point.
shifts for him.
Yeah. He realizes how insignificant these worldly ambitions are
Right.
when you think about eternity.
Yeah.
And Tolstoy's using that to contrast these fleeting human aspirations with something bigger, something beyond us.
Okay, so Andrei starts out wanting glory
Yes.
on the battlefield,
Yes.
but ends up with a deeper understanding of what really matters.
Absolutely. And his path crosses with Pierre's in really interesting ways. So they have these deep conversations.
Oh, yeah.
They challenge each other's beliefs and they push each other to grow.
They're like two sides of the same coin.
In a way, yeah. They're both looking for truth and meaning, but they come at it from these different angles.
Totally. Their friendship is so important.
Yeah.
They support each other through all these struggles.
Yeah,
And they help each other see the world in a new way.
absolutely. Okay, so we've got these two guys wrestling with these big questions about life.
Right.
But what about the women in War and Peace?
Yeah, what about them? What are their journeys like?
It's complex. I mean, Tolstoy's portrayal of women,
Yeah.
he idealizes certain feminine qualities,
Okay.
but he also puts limits on their roles.
So it's a bit of a mixed bag.
It is, yeah. I mean, on the one hand, he creates someone like Natasha Rostova,
Yeah.
who's so full of life and passion and love.
Yeah, she's like this force of nature.
Yeah.
You know?
Defying those conventions, embracing everything.
She is a standout character. Her story, it's both heartwarming and heartbreaking. You know?
Yeah, and then there's Princess Maria, who is intelligent and compassionate,
Yeah.
devoted to her family. But she's got her own challenges with her father and finding love in unexpected places.
So even though Tolstoy has some traditional ideas about women, he created characters who were strong and complex and capable of defying those expectations.
Exactly, and I think it's important to see both sides of that, right? We can appreciate these women, but also recognize the limits of his perspective.
It's a good reminder that, even great books are still products of their time
Yeah.
and reflect those complexities
Yeah,
of the author's worldview.
and that's part of what makes War and Peace so fascinating.
It is?
It challenges us to see the world through the eyes of people.
Who lived in a very different time.
Completely different time.
Yeah. It's a reminder that even though times change, the human experience
Stays the same.
pretty much stays the same.
Yeah.
We're still dealing with the same questions about love and loss,
Purpose.
our place in the world.
And that's why War and Peace is a masterpiece.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gone from the grand sweep of history to the little details of people's lives.
Yeah.
We've talked about Tolstoy's view of history, the search for meaning,
Yeah.
the roles of women in 19th century Russia.
We've just scratched the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so much more.
There is some
Family dynamics.
the impact of war,
Yeah, the impact of war on people, on society as a whole.
and of course all those incredible scenes
Yeah.
of love and loss and redemption.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we're going to delve into all that.
Yeah.
We'll share some of our favorite passages
Yeah.
and offer some final thoughts.
Right. We'll talk about how to approach this book.
Right, because it is a big one.
Yeah, without getting lost. And don't forget, join the conversation on Bookspace. Share your thoughts, your favorite characters. Connect with other readers.
It's a great community. Yeah. See you in part 3.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into War and Peace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I feel like I've just lived like an entire lifetime in Tolstoy's world.
Oh, right? It's amazing how a book can do that to you.
It really is. Speaking of being transported, one of my absolute favorite scenes is when Prince Andrei is lying wounded on the battlefield at Austerlitz, looking up at the sky.
Yeah.
It's like a powerful moment for him. All of a sudden, the things that seem so important, ambition, glory, even the war itself, they just lose their meaning.
It's such an emotionally and philosophically deep scene. Remember that line where Andrei's thinking, how was it I did not see that lofty sky before, and how happy I am to have found it at last? Yes, all is vanity, all falsehood, except that infinite sky.
I get chills just thinking about it. It's like Tolstoy's reminding us that there's something so much bigger than us, something that goes beyond all our, human worries.
It's a reminder to keep perspective. Even when things are chaotic, even when we're suffering, there's still beauty out there, there's still wonder. And, sometimes it takes a big experience, like Andrei's near-death experience, to really wake us up to it.
Yeah. And it's not just those huge moments that Tolstoy captures so well. He also gets those little subtle moments in human relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, think about the Rostov family.
Yeah, the Rostovs.
They're so full of life and love and warmth.
They are. It's like a breath of fresh air every time they show up.
It's true. They really embody the importance of family, of connection, just finding those little joys in life.
Yeah. And they feel so real.
They do.
Like people you could actually know.
I especially love Natasha.
Oh, Natasha. She's fantastic.
She's such a force of nature. She's fiery, passionate, always true to herself.
Yeah.
She goes through so much, but she never gives up.
No, she doesn't. And I think her journey really resonates with a lot of readers, especially, young women who see her as this inspiring figure.
That's right. And speaking of inspiring, what about Pierre? He stumbles, he makes mistakes, but he never stops looking for meaning,
Yeah. Pierre's journey shows us it's okay not to have all the answers. Life is about constantly learning.
Growing.
Yeah, growing from our missteps.
And sometimes those lessons come from the most unexpected places, like lying wounded on a battlefield, looking up at the sky.
Absolutely. Tolstoy shows us meaning can be found anywhere. And sometimes the search is what matters most.
I agree. Okay, so we've talked about some of the big moments, the characters, the themes, but War and Peace has also had its share of criticism, especially about the way women are portrayed. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you have to acknowledge that Tolstoy's views on women were definitely shaped by his time. You know, he sometimes idealizes certain feminine qualities.
The submissiveness.
Yeah, submissiveness, domesticity, which feel a little outdated now.
But his female characters, they're not just flat one-dimensional characters.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Natasha, for example, she's incredibly strong and independent. She pushes back against those expectations all the time.
She does. She makes her own choices, even when they lead to pain or disappointment. And Princess Maria, even though she starts out kind of submissive, she finds her own voice.
Yeah.
She makes choices that put her happiness first.
Right. So while we might not agree with all of Tolstoy's views,
Right.
we can still appreciate how layered and complex those female characters are.
Absolutely. You have to look at the work through a historical lens, but also see how it can still move and inspire us.
And speaking of its power, why do you think War and Peace is still so relevant today, even after all these years?
I think it's because Tolstoy captures something universal about what it means to be human. His characters, they ask those timeless questions about love and loss, about what their purpose is, what it all means.
Right. They make mistakes, they experience joy and sadness, they struggle, and they find their way.
It's like he's holding up this mirror.
To all of us, showing us with all our flaws and complexities.
And he does it with so much compassion, reminding us that we're all connected, that our lives are all woven together.
Yeah. That even in the middle of these big historical events, it's the personal connections that really matter.
Well said. I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into War and Peace. We've covered so much, but it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always something new to discover in Tolstoy's world. I hope everyone listening will give this book a chance.
It's a book that will stick with you. And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to start your own book club or join a community online to talk about it with other people.
And speaking of online communities, Bookspace is a great place for that.
Absolutely.
You can connect with other book lovers, share your favorite quotes, organize your reading list. It's the perfect companion for any literary adventure.
That's right. And on that note, we'll say goodbye for now. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey through War and Peace.
Happy reading, everyone!